Straightforward talk, important issues, and a healthy serving of red meat. It's time to get real and raw with Mindy and Boots on 610 WTVN.
Boopsie, the May primary is heating up. That is for sure. That means in a couple months, you, my friends, will have the freedom to go ahead to the polls and cast your vote.
Hopefully even out this country.
So there is a man from Dublin, Ohio, who has so many wonderful interests at heart. And I think you, the listener, really, really will appreciate what he stands for. I want you to hear a little bit of this.
I'm Mark PUKITA, Republican citizen candidate, outsider running for U.S. Senate. We need to defend America from enemies both foreign and domestic. Stop indoctrination and hate in education.
And that's just a small part of the little ad or something that's running throughout social media. I don't know if it's actually on TV yet. But Mark PUKITA right now wants to fill the seat that Rob Portman is vacating. And he joins us on the air. And as you know, Boots, we like to have candidates on.
Yes. Hey, Mark, great to have you, brother. She played your commercial. I'm sorry I didn't really hear of you till Mindy opened my eyes to you, and your commercial's spot on.
Well, thank you, Boots. And thank you, Mindy, for having me. I hope you two are well. It's been quite an adventure, and we're getting the word out. That's part of a social media campaign, but we've also been doing radio ads. So we've done some ads on 610, actually.
Good.
So why throw your hat into the ring?
Well, it wasn't something that I ever expected. At the end of 2019, I sold a large business. I've been gone for 20 years. I come from a lower middle class family, so I really live the American dream, and I was not happy with the job Rob Portman was doing. I thought that he got to Washington and he turned on conservatives who got him elected. And now we're seeing true Rob Portman standing side by side with Democrats. So I decided to run because I couldn't find anybody else to primary Rob Portman. And initially, I wanted to run to give him some competition in the primary, to make him work for it, to not allow him to be unopposed. And then he dropped out, and now we've got a Kentucky Derby field. And what we've been finding now is the corruption in the Ohio Republican Party is top to bottom and left to right. And so initially my mission was to unseat Rob Portman or to make him work for it. Now we're trying to clean up the Republican Party, and I'm doing that to show Ohio voters how I will operate, how I will work for them when I get to Washington, D.C.
Okay, so let me ask you this. I always feel like every great politician like you that comes into the ring ends up like a Browns quarterback. You know, the Browns get the best of the best, and in 2 years they're ruined. And I worry about a guy like you just said. You've lived the American dream, you've sold a business, and now you're going to go into the swamp that needs drained even more. How are you going to compete with all those criminals we have in D.C.?
That's a great question. It's a great question that I've given a lot of thought about. And it really is what we've been doing with the Ohio Republican Party. It's identifying the corruption, exposing it, publicizing it, and having fixes for it. And I think the biggest fix we've got is to take away the money, which is their fuel, and downsize the federal government substantially. Now, my policy guide, I've got a 21-point policy guide that your listeners can find at mark4ohio.com. That's mark4ohio.com/policy. And part of that is reducing the budget by 1% a year. Now, people say 1% a year, that's not that much. I'd love it to be more, but when was the last time we had anybody really talking about reducing spending? It's always tax policy.
That's true.
We need to be spending. Yeah, we need to be spending 10 to 100 times the energy and voice talking about reducing spending as opposed to tax policy. Tax policy is a shiny metal object that we get into these arguments with Democrats on. We think we won the argument. I mean, look at Rob Portman will talk about lowering taxes at the same time he's voting for a bipartisan infrastructure bill, which isn't bipartisan, is all social justice nonsense. It's just pork. And that's going to add $4 trillion to the $30 trillion deficit.
So we're talking
absurd.
Oh, go ahead. I thought you were done. I'm sorry, Mark.
No, I was just going to say, if we're printing money like Venezuela, we're seeing the result of it, right, in inflation, and we can't get products on the shelf, and neither can they. I mean, this is serious business.
So we're talking with Mark PUKITA running for U.S. Senate, and you mentioned Rob Portman, the seat you're trying to get there, and he just endorsed Jane Timken, and you look at Mike Gibbons, and you look at Josh Mandel. Those are pretty big names that most of Ohio they're very familiar with. How do you compete against those big names, Mark?
Well, so we're competing by, we're not going to compete with them on money. We're competing with them on hard work. Like I'm in Toledo today at an event. I had to break in the middle of it. We are just everywhere, and we've got a very, very vibrant and strong supporter and volunteer base. We're doing radio ads, but more importantly, our message resonates with people, and they talk to other people about it, because I am the only fighter in this race. When I'm at Senate forums with the rest of them, it's clear that I am different from the rest of them. I've stated, and no one else has stated, I would do a heartbeat bill at the national level. I would do a bill for constitutional carry at the national level. And nobody else is talking about any of these things. They're throwing out red meat, but they don't have plans. That policy guide is basically my commitment, my plans, and you can go look at it and decide whether you like those plans. You can't find that on anybody else's website. The other thing is, we've got 7 people who have qualified for ballot access. I'm spending time in rural counties. I'm spending time with people who feel disenfranchised. And, you know, this is going to be a race that could be won with a couple 100,000 votes, right?
Okay, good.
Because it's going to be split. So it's not like necessarily you have to win, you know, the big 5 counties. If you won all the rural counties like Mike Gibbons did last time, you could prevail in this election. So we're pretty good at looking at those numbers, and we think we've got a good shot.
We are so glad that you came on the air with us. You feel free to call in whenever you want to, if you want to express your concerns about anything. And you guys look him up, Mark PUKITA. Again, it's PUKITA. As soon as you get to his page, it says right away, authentic, outsider, fighter.
That's awesome. Thanks, Mark. You have a wonderful weekend. What's left of it. Enjoy President's Day weather. It's going to be awesome. This is Rob Mindy Boots on News Radio 610 WTVN.
Hey Columbus, this is Tim Dye with
He's good. Like I said, it could be another Browns quarterback that he get to DC and they'll bench you.
Because we buy properties as is.
He's right. You get there with all them other criminals.
You love when people aren't part of the establishment. You know what I mean?
Even better.